Hello, Labbers, and welcome back to Online Preschool Project. So this week we're going to be talking about paired or choral reading and parallel or echo reading. And I'm sure you guys have done this before when you were kids, or like in elementary school, maybe with your parents, but you probably have never heard it referred to as this before. So hopefully this will be a new but not really concept for everyone. To start off, just a reminder of why do we care about reading? It's because academic success is highly dependent on reading, right? So after children are expected to know how to read, much of school-based learning revolves around learning how to read. Children that struggle with reading might associate it with feelings of frustration, and so we want to cultivate a positive attitude towards reading. And these are a couple of techniques that are good for kids that haven't mastered decoding, which means like understanding what they're reading. And so these are things you can use to take stress and anxiety out of reading while still allowing the children to participate. We talked a lot in our last video about a couple of different things you can do to keep the children engaged, like asking questions and having visuals, but this is an actual reading technique that you can use. So the first that we're going to talk about is choral reading, but it's also called paired reading. And the way that I like to remember this is like paired is like together, like it's at the same time. Or if you've ever been to like a church and you've heard the chorus sing, the choral people sing like at the same time, right? So the way that you're going to use this is you're going to select an appropriate level of book. The child, you could potentially give them a couple of different options if it's during like free reading time. And then try to pick a book that they have a lot of experience with before. You should have read the book to them like at least 5 times before doing this. So make sure it's a book that like the child reads a lot, that you've read with the child before. And then what you're going to do is you're going to point and follow along. If you need to hold their hand and help them point, you can, or you can just have them point if they're able to do that on their own. And you're going to have the child point to the words as they read them, and you're going to read with them at the same time. So this works especially well for books that have strong rhyme or repetition. So like There Was an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly, right? So you know that initial phrase is going to be just repeated over and over. And so what I've done in the past with some of my kids that have had reading issues, even elementary aged kids, is I will read the book like one time through and be like, oh, okay, like now you know how it goes, and then now it's your turn to help me read, right? And so then I would have them essentially read the book, but I'm reading it at the same time as them, because then if they miss a word, like I'm filling it in for them. And it also just takes some of the pressure off, because it's not like somebody's sitting and staring at them reading. It's like you're reading together. And so yeah, I've done this before where you're like, okay, ready? There was an old lady who swallowed a fly, and you're reading it literally the exact same time. Here's an example that Kira found. We can go ahead and pull up this video, but I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this slide or hear it. So hopefully you can. I don't know. Do you think you can see this? I do not know. If not, then I will put the links. Actually, I might even just do that, because I don't think you guys are going to be able to see this. I'll just put the links in the Canvas page so you guys can access that. But these videos that she found are really great to see an example of kids participating in choral reading and echo reading, because obviously there's just one of me and my little dog, and yeah, I can't show you right now, unfortunately. I wish I could. All right, so then the next strategy we're going to be talking about is echo reading, which is where you say something and then somebody else says something. And this works really well with we're going on a bear hunt. Like this is probably, that's the example that pops into my head every time, because it's kind of set up as you say, we're going on a bear hunt. And then the kids say, we're going on a bear hunt. And it can be really nice if you're like pointing at you and then pointing at them the first couple times that you do it. And then as they practice, they understand like they're supposed to copy what you say. And this can be really great for repetitive books as well, because then they're able to have more of consistency in what they're saying, and it makes it a little bit easier. So you can also kind of adjust this to the child's ability, right? So if you're just reading a couple of words and then they're following a couple words, if you're reading the whole sentence, if you're reading a paragraph, it usually works best if it's like a short sentence. And so here the clinician is going to read a small part of the passage, prompt the child to copy them by saying, say what I say, or copy me. And then the child is able to hear you do it, fluent reading. They don't really have to understand it. And then they're able to just copy kind of what you say, and it takes the pressure off of them, but it's still giving them that exposure. It can also allow them to concentrate more on like the meaning of the overall prosody and like purpose, like the main point of the passage, versus having to like go through and like decode like, okay, this word means this, and this word means this, and this word means this. It's able, it gives them the ability to hear the story, so they're able to understand what they're reading, right? And then it's going to work best with books that have shorter phrases, right? Because especially for preschoolers, like they're not going to remember if you read them a huge long thing. But again, like you can adjust how long it is, because that's going to make it more difficult. And then Kira gave another example. And again, I will put these links in the Canvas, but also you guys do have access to these slides, so feel free to just click on it directly from the slide as well. So when do you use these strategies? They're really similar, right? So choral reading is at the same time, think like a chorus of people singing. Echo reading is echo, echo, right? One and then the other. And they're both used for young children or older children that struggle with reading or reading fluency. And again, just a note, like adjust your reading material according to their age, their reading level. You can, for echo reading, adjust like how long the echo is going to be. And then also with children who haven't yet mastered decoding, because it's going to take some stress out of reading, but they're still going to be able to experience reading, like flipping through pages and reading along with somebody. And so then it's going to encourage them to want to read more, hopefully. Benefits is that they're pretty simple techniques. I'm sure you all have experienced this at some level, like in elementary school. You might not remember. And it's something that can be really easily taught to a parent to use at home, which again, the more we can teach and give parents, the better, because they're seeing the kids 3 times as much as we are, you know? If you're just an SLP, like 10 times as much, but like 3 times as much as the teachers, right? And then also you can choose books that are used in the classroom, right? So this is an example of if you're like a school-based SLP and you have like a 4th grade class maybe that's working on like reading a story or reading like science articles, and you can pull them and use that book that they've been working on in class, and you can either read a previous passage so that they've already had exposure to it, or a future passage to help prepare them before class. And you can practice the choral reading, because not only is it giving them exposure to something that's going to benefit them in class, but it's also going to practice their reading skills in general and the strategy of choral reading or echo reading. And so it's kind of like a 2 birds, 1 stone scenario. And then also it's going to help the child become more comfortable, which we've mentioned, and to concentrate on the overall meaning rather than just like understanding word by word what's happening. You know, they don't actually have to read.